Welcome, everyone, to the Herbert H. and Grace A. Dow College of Health Professions College Days. You may be students, parents, relatives, or friends. Whatever your role, we're glad you've chosen to learn more about the athletic training program. We encourage you to ask and post questions on our Health Professions College Facebook page. We'll be sure and respond to all of your questions. I am Greg Zimmerman, a two-time CMU alumnus and associate dean in the college, and I'll be moderating this session. I also have with us Dr. Renee Shingles, professor, program director, and internship coordinator of athletic training, and Emily Webster, assistant professor of athletic training. Renee and Emily, would each of you speak about the athletic training program, what you teach, opportunities available for students, and more?
Absolutely. Good morning, all, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon what time you're watching this. I'm Dr. Renee Shingles, and it is a pleasure to have you join us for our college days. I teach in the athletic training program. I teach the internship class, so I prepare students to go out onto internship. And I also teach, this semester, I'm teaching a research class with our students. And one of my favorite courses to teach also is diversity class. I help students to understand how to treat patients from a cultural perspective and how to understand whether or not their race, their class, their gender, their sexuality, different things of that nature, and how that impacts patients and impacts patient care. So I look forward to having you join us in those types of classes. Emily?
Thanks, Renee. Thank you, Dr. Shingles. And again, I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Shingles said. Thank you for joining us today and taking the time to look into our program. Like Dr. Shingles, I teach different classes, and this semester in the fall, I'll have some other unique classes that I haven't taught in a while, but I teach across the board, starting with surface anatomy class, which we call ATR 200, which is one of the first classes you take in your first year in our program. I also teach what we call ATR 280 currently, which will turn into ATR 350 or 340. And it's our admissions class. So in that class, we guide you through the process of admitting into the master's program. And then as you are in the actual athletic training major and we dive into the various domains of athletic training, I teach an upper extremity and a lower extremity examination class, which I thoroughly enjoy because it's very hands-on and really teaching you about conditions, musculoskeletal conditions, concussions, different cervical spine injuries, all sorts of things, but giving you the tools to be able to evaluate anyone from any activity at any age as they come to you and say, my knee hurts or my head hurts. And then lastly, I teach a class that we call therapeutic modality, or excuse me, not modalities, therapeutic exercise. And that's really getting into the foundations of rehabilitation. So you may see me as a freshman in your first year. You may see me if you continue through as a junior or senior. So with that, I just wanted to get into a little bit of the details of our program. It is a new program in the sense that we've transitioned into what we call our 3+2 BSAT, MSAT program. And Dr. Shingles will get into some of the uniqueness of that program as we continue our conversation. But in this program as a freshman, you start in our introductory class, and every semester in your undergraduate degree, the BSAT, you take an athletic training class. And we have built into the BSAT all of your university program requirements, your competencies, things you'll learn about as you pursue a degree at CMU. We've built that all in the first 3 years, in addition to completing the BSAT, which is a Bachelor of Science in Athletic Training. In your third year, as a junior, you apply in the fall to pursue the master's degree. And as I mentioned earlier, that's in a class, and we guide you through that entire process. And being that you take an athletic training class every semester, you don't skip a beat. You're always connected with our athletic training program. And we'll talk about advising later as well. But in your junior year, you apply, and you know in the fall your status in the program. In December is when you would be identified as being admitted. And we'll talk about requirements here in a second. So as a junior, you know that your senior year, you will be finishing out your bachelor's degree and starting your master's degree. It's a very unique, again, situation where you're taking classes that count for a bachelor's and a master's at the same time. And it's not extra work, it's classes that count for two different programs. And the benefit, again, you'll hear from Dr. Shingles about the uniqueness is that you're taking master's classes and paying undergraduate tuition. So that's a huge win for you. And then your fifth year, you finish out your master's degree. So in 5 years, you've acquired a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, with every semester having a connection with athletic training. And we're constantly building from that freshman year. So you start again with that intro class, we get into the anatomy in your freshman and sophomore year, and then we introduce you to therapeutics, modalities, and exercise. We introduce you to immediate care. CPR certification will be built into that as well. You admit, and then because of that foundation that we've built for you in those first 3 years, the fourth year and the fifth year is straight athletic training classes. You are immersed in athletic training in your fourth and fifth year. So it's an incredible program. We're really proud of what we've put together. We've got quite the legacy of educating athletic trainers, and we've got an alumni base that has done incredible things. And we'll talk about that later as well. The major map is what we call kind of the listing of courses for each year is found on our website, and you have access to that. But if it's something you want to see, again, as has been mentioned, if you have questions, we are more than happy to answer those through our Facebook page, or if you reach out to any of us as we talk about advising.
I've got a question. When do students take the board exam to become certified?
Great question. For athletic training, you have to take board exam. It's through the Board of Certification, and that exam is taken during the last semester of the academic year. So as Mrs. Webster indicated about the 5 years, it would be during that spring semester of the fifth year that students would sit for the board exams. And when passing that exam, that also makes you eligible for licensure. In the state of Michigan, you also have to have a license to practice athletic training, just as other healthcare professionals do. So similar to a physician or a dentist or an audiologist also have to have license to practice their particular discipline. Athletic training is the same. You have to have a license to practice athletic training. And so once you pass the certification exam, typically our students take that exam in the April window, so to speak, the March-April window. And so they will know their status by the end of April, beginning of May, typically, and then can turn in their paperwork and do what they need to do for licensure and have everything wrapped up. If they do it, stay timely with everything, then they should be able to get their licensure during the summer as they prepare for job opportunities or maybe graduate school going forward.
That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What makes our athletic training program so unique and special?
I would say the things that are unique about our athletic training, one, Mrs. Webster indicated, we had a long history of educating athletic trainers, over 45 years. We were the first major in sports medicine in the country. And so we have been doing this and do it well. So I think that history, that foundation, that legacy. Our founders are still living. They check in on us and see how we're doing. So I think that's very unique about our program. I think the other things that are unique that were mentioned is that we are a 3+2 in terms of 3 years of undergraduate. The fourth year is a transition undergrad graduate, and then that fifth year is at the master's level. And so, as we like to say, 5 years, 2 degrees, one major. You are majoring in athletic training all the way through. So it's not a major in something else, and then you apply to athletic training. You're starting off in athletic training, you get a foundation in athletic training, and then you move to and apply to the program, and once admitted, finish with athletic training. And so that is unique. Many places no longer offer a Bachelor of Science in Athletic Training degree, but ours does. So I think that's unique. A couple of other things that are unique. We have these things called immersives. So that's where you're full-time doing hands-on athletic training. We have 2 of those built into our program, and they anchor the program. It'll start right at the beginning in that first set of classes. Once admitted, the students have an opportunity to do immersive, and then at the end, where it ties everything together, I like to say kind of a neat bow that just puts the oomph at the end of that academic career to pull together everything that students have learned during that time. Those are unique. In between those 2 immersives, we have 4 clinical rotations where the students are also in the classes and then go clinical rotation, or they may learn it in the morning and see it in the afternoon. And we like to say that goes from theory to practice. You learn the theory, you put it into practice later in the day or throughout that time frame. And so we work very closely with our local high schools, with our athletics here on campus at CMU. We have a great working relationship with our community partners at the hospitals and sports medicine clinics in town. And so our students have the opportunities to get a wide variety of experiences with different types of patients in different types of environments. And so we think that's unique to our program. Something else, we just built a brand new wing to our health professions building, which includes a simulation center. And we do professional education in collaboration, interprofessional work with other healthcare professionals. And so it is modern, it is up to date, it is tied into the computers where we have our simulators. They can blink and sweat and cry and heart can stop beating. And so our athletic training students will have the opportunity before they touch real patients to go from working with their peers to working on models to working on simulators. And then we also have what's called standardized patients. So you get to work with a real person who is a patient, and we give them a scenario, and that scenario gets worked out, and we video record it, and then we can come back and help students to understand what they did right, what they did wrong. And then, as I said, those clinical opportunities where you're working with real patients every day. And so it's a great opportunity to showcase how those clinical skills can move from understanding the theory of why you do something to practicing with the peer and practicing on the model, moving towards simulation, moving to standardized patients, and working with patients. So we have this nice progression of how you learn to do your clinical skills. And I think that is extremely unique at CMU because of the collaborations that we do in the community, the collaborations with other healthcare professionals here in our college, and the facilities that we have to do it. We have an unbelievable tech staff, our healthcare technology staff that help us, and our staff in our interprofessional center to help us to do these kind of things. So those are some of the unique experiences students will experience at Central Michigan.
And I might add to that or reiterate what Dr. Shingles had said about immersives. Immersives, um, similar to an internship, you're not taking classes. The immersive is what you're doing. So that final one in particular, you may be in an environment, let's say at a high school or in a collegiate setting, and you're going to that site, you're working alongside of licensed athletic trainers 40 hours a week. So it really, by the name immersive, you are immersed into the environment and practicing your skills and really synthesizing all of what you've learned. And even in the beginning, the one that we have in the beginning, it's the same thing. You're not taking classes, and you're immersed in the athletic training environment and learning. And being that it is your first one, you don't have all of the skills that you have at the end, but there's so much um, learning that happens in those experiences that help you in the classroom as you follow in the curriculum. So that is incredible when it comes to going out into the real world in your job. To have that experience at the end, you don't skip a beat when you take on that first job. You have the experience, and that helps with confidence as well.
And two other points to that. One, we have an athletic training room in our recreation facility. We call it the Injury Care Center. And the students have the opportunity to manage and work through that facility. They greet the patient when the patient walks in and does the full out evaluation, or develop the rehabilitation plan and then carry out that rehabilitation plan. We also do emergency medicine. So we're on radio. So if there's an injury that happens in the building, we're called to the site, and the students have the opportunity to actually take care of that injury and do that on-court, on-field evaluation. My goal as the preceptor in that space is to be, as I like to say, 2 steps behind you. I'm going to watch you do that and only intervene if I have to. But my goal is not to intervene at all, that you feel competent to be able to do those skills and take care of that patient under the direction of a licensed athletic trainer. So it's a great opportunity that our students really love that experience. And then one other experience I want to share with you is the opportunity to do research. Our students have the opportunity to do research both at the undergraduate level as well as at the graduate level. We have a laboratory here where we do things such as heat, exertional heat, as well as cramping and ice. And so we have scholars here that are renowned in the United States for the work that they do in therapeutic modalities, in exertional heat, in cramping, in cultural competence. And so you have the chance as an undergraduate, as well as a graduate student, to be involved in research. So most master's programs are going to require some type of research opportunity, but undergraduates not always. So one of the benefits of this program is doing that undergraduate research. And then the area of cultural competence. And as we start talking about things such as social determinants of health, implicit bias, treating patients from a cultural perspective, those things happen here at CMU, and we start that at the undergraduate level. Again, we build that into our program. Part of our mission is for students to be culturally competent athletic trainers. And so that's built in throughout. You don't just get one lecture on implicit bias, or one lecture on cultural competence, or one lecture on how to treat your African American patient. You don't get one lecture on that. You get 2 full classes, so 6 credit hours, plus it's built in throughout other coursework. Those are some of the unique things that happen here at Central Michigan University.
And I'm going to add to that as well. We could probably talk for hours on our program. As we designed our program and the classes that are in the curriculum, we were very cognizant of cost. And we designed our program to be very lean in the sense that we hit all of the requirements for both the undergraduate baccalaureate degree and the master's degree without excess. So we chose classes based on what our students needed. And if it fulfilled another requirement, then we went after that. And so what that means simplistically, at CMU, you need 120 credit hours to graduate with a bachelor's degree. Our program, the BSAT, is 120 credit hours, and that fulfills the requirements of the major and the requirements of the university with the university program and the competencies. And we did the same thing with the master's degree. There are master's degrees nationwide, as you look at athletic training, that the credit hours are in the 60s, even in the 70s. And we kept that to the minimum, which we are, Dr. Shingles helped me out on that credit hour. We're well below.
Yeah, we're at 60 credit hours. And I would add to that, we did that without sacrificing excellence, without sacrificing our standards, and without sacrificing the education that you would receive at Central Michigan University. We were able to take and design a program that allowed us to be able to hit the competencies that we needed, as Mrs. Webster said, for both the university and to meet our accrediting standards, and have some things that we thought were important above and beyond what the accrediting standards said and what the university said we needed to do in order to make sure that our students exemplify excellence at Central Michigan.
Yeah.
Very well said. What types of careers can an athletic trainer go into?
Well, let me tell you, I feel as if we're on the cusp of athletic training in the sense of our profession. And I think um, the COVID-19 pandemic has really proven our worth and our value in health systems. And I think um, really the sky's the limit with athletic training. Traditionally, athletic trainers are employed in the collegiate setting, whether it be with athletics or in a recreational setting, like our injury care center, which provides services to intramural sports, as well as club sports, as well as the general student population. Um, Athletic trainers are traditionally employed in high schools, whether it's full time in a high school or it's a combination of a clinic, um, meaning rehabilitation clinic or clinic in the sense of a physician's office with high school responsibilities. Those are the traditional areas we see, and probably a bigger percentage of athletic trainers are employed there. What we're seeing and what we've seen in the last few years is this um, change and employment with physicians. So in Michigan, we have a number of very large healthcare systems, Spectrum in Grand Rapids, Henry Ford in Beaumont on the eastern side of the state, where athletic trainers are being employed with physicians in their offices. And that is a very exciting area, but it's also a very emerging area in which athletic trainers are being employed. So what happens, just to give you a sense of what that means, um, at Spectrum Health, they have specialists, um, a doctor that specializes in feet or in the back. That doctor may have an athletic trainer on staff who is the first to greet you when you come in for your appointment, takes maybe a general history. So they ask you some questions about what's going on. They may do some testing, initial testing, and then they leave the room. They go and they talk with the doctor. And then they may both come back in and the doctor completes the exam. And maybe the athletic trainer is taking notes of what's going on, what the doctor is ordering. And then the athletic trainer follows through after the doctor has left and maybe helps you with crutch fitting if you've been prescribed crutches, or teaches you some initial exercises that the doctor has prescribed for you, or you need an x-ray or an ultrasound, and that athletic trainer is going to fulfill that electronic paperwork to get that done for you, and then give you any directions on where you need to go for that. They may then ask if you have any questions, and then that dialogue continues, but the physician has then moved on to their next patient, and they have just allowed that physician to see more patients because of the skill set the athletic trainer has. um, the physician can kind of shorten the time to move to the next individual. So that's a pretty exciting area. Spectrum in particular has somewhere like around 20 athletic trainers that are in those different settings, and they bring in physicians, and physicians want athletic trainers in their practice. So there's a demand there, and it's really cool. And I think we're seeing that across the nation. Um, our program or our profession is one of the faster growing healthcare professions. And there are some statistics out there about the percentage of growth that will happen over the next decade. And we're in the higher ranks of growth. And then there are these other settings that are very unique. Again, we see growth. So Cirque du Soleil, Broadway, um, even in Grand Rapids, the Grand Rapids Ballet Company, they have an athletic trainer on staff. Um, we have an alum who works down in Florida, and he's at a place called Evo Sports, and he's working with USA Gymnastics. So we can get into different levels, professional levels or amateur levels of sport. Athletic trainers are employed with NASA, working with astronauts, um, NASCAR, the military. So really the sky's the limit. If there's somebody who's active, and activity isn't just sport or working out, but you think about the industrial setting. We have athletic trainers that work with consumer energy, with those that go out after a storm and are fixing, electrical lines. There's an athletic trainer that is there. So anywhere where there's activity, somebody can get hurt, there can be an athletic trainer. So that's the incredible piece, the exciting piece about athletic training. It's what you want it to be. And um, that's where we see these really unique settings. And again, we're growing. So what may happen or what's available today is probably going to be in more demand in the next 5 years.
And I would add to that that the beauty of athletic training is you can change your setting without changing your degree. So if you want to work high stakes NCAA Division I football, you can do that. If you want to work at a small private high school, you can do that. If you come from a military family, as Mrs. Webster indicated, that is one of the growing areas right now for athletic trainers. They are hiring athletic trainers left and right in various military installations right now. So it's a great opportunity if you want a more 9 to 5 type of position, working in a physician's office or working in a clinic or working in industry in some way gives you more of a 9 to 5. If you're a night owl and you really like to work the late shift, well, if you're working Cirque du Soleil or working for the ballet, guess what? You're working at night when some of those activities are taking place, or you're working a kind of a second shift type of job, where you come in a little bit before the performance and do some things. So there's a wide variety of what you can do in athletic training. I think that's the beauty of our profession, is that it allows you that opportunity to work in a way that fits your work-life balance and what you want to do and the types of activities you want to be a part of.
I can certainly vouch for that as a graduate of the athletic training program at CMU. I worked for Henry Ford Hospital's Center for Athletic Medicine, worked with a high school in Grosse Pointe. My first job upon graduating was with professional baseball, and then ultimately I spent the next decade working within General Motors, treating injured workers. So definitely lots of options with regards to careers. Um, I know at CMU, community service is very big, and certainly expected of students. Is there a student organization for the athletic training program?
Yes, there is. And I have the opportunity to advise them. So students are welcomed in their first year to be a part of what we call SATO. It's the Student Athletic Trainers Organization, and it's student led um, and student uh, driven in a sense. They determine what they want to do as far as community service, and it really lies in what their passions are. So it does change a little bit as we move through each year based on who's leading. But the student organization welcomes students who are in the program or in the major, and students who are just maybe interested or friends of friends. It's open to anyone. Um, you don't have to be a member to attend. So if you're unsure, you can join. There's no, we don't check you at the door to say, where's your membership card? There are benefits to being a member, but we welcome everyone. And there are monthly meetings, usually run 2 meetings a month. where students will bring in speakers. Speakers may be local, but with technology, we've had speakers from Utah, California, um, Massachusetts, Florida, because we can do things like this. We can do WebEx meetings. And it's a range of speakers. So we may have alum that talk about their experiences working in certain settings. John Burke is an alum of our program, and he works with USA Speed Skating. And so he presented to our students not only about his experience, but about working with speed skaters and how different it is, and the traditional rehab techniques that we use with, let's say, a football player, those don't apply to speed skaters. And so learning about that was really interesting, and our students were very intrigued. Um, and we've had speakers from, locally, CMU coming in, the athletic trainers over in athletics, working with the different sports. We've had topics like dermatological conditions with wrestling, and then how it works with keeping an athlete on the sideline if they have something like impetigo, or having someone come in and talk about blood flow restriction in rehabilitation, which is a technique that's emerging, or cupping, or some of the non-traditional types of tools that are utilized in rehabilitation. But then we also have just um, skill types of reviews. So spine boarding is a huge skill for athletic trainers. Well, we use those SATO meetings to bring students from all across the board of learning, group them, mix students together, so the older students are helping the younger students learn that skill or review that skill. Um, Traditionally, you think of spine boarding on the field. We did it in the foam pits in gymnastics, because it's important. Gymnasts get hurt in foam pits, and you don't think that would happen, but it has happened, and it's important that we have that skill. So the meetings are very relaxed, laid back. It's about learning, but it's also about coming together. We have social gatherings where students just come and hang out. We eat together, or we just talk. Um, the community service piece, they do things with Habitat for Humanity. Um, they've done volunteer work with local schools, with simple things like being a part of a carnival at an elementary school. They've put together 5K races to raise money for scholarships. So there are very unique opportunities to connect through our student organization.
Good, thank you. What is the job placement rate for athletic trainers after graduation?
Our placement rate is about 95% that we can account for. We have about 5% of students who just have decided not to tell us what they're doing. And so of those that we know about, I guess we would consider that 100%. But the majority of students, around 80%, 81, 82% go directly into athletic training immediately following graduation. We have about another 15 to percent, getting up to that 95%, who either go to graduate school, so they want to go on to other professional schools and be dual credentialed. Some have gone to medical school, occupational therapy school, chiropractic school, physician assistance programs, physical therapy programs. So we have some who go into professional schools. Then, like I said, we have about 5% we just don't know. And for us, that's not very many people. It may sound like a lot of percentage, but it's a small number of people. But the overwhelming majority go directly out into the workforce with their baccalaureate degree. My assumption as we move into the master's degree, because people know they want to do the athletic training, that we'll have an even higher percent that go directly into the profession, because we're a little bit more specialized now at the master's degree, would be my anticipation for that. So that's kind of where we are. And our students go into everything that we've talked about, collegiate sports, high school sports, clinic, industry, military. We had students in the military, like Cirque du Soleil, we have students who are a little all over the place.
Very good, thank you.
And I might add to that, our program is specialized. However, it does still set you up for pursuing, if you want to be dual credentialed, you can still do that. A student may pursue a different degree and complete the prerequisites for PT school or PA school, and it may take them 5 years to do that. So our program, most of those prerequisites are already in our program. So you can complete the BSAT, MSAT in 5 years and move right into PT school, PA school, and things like that.
When should a student who is interested in athletic training reach out to an advisor in the program?
A student can reach out. We suggest their first year in the fall on campus. The beauty of orientation is you can connect with an advisor right away. And we have a great relationship with the general advisors in our health profession programs. And we are in constant communication with those individuals, just touching base with, potential opportunities, but also they reach out even throughout the summer with questions. I have this student, they're interested in athletic training. This is what they've done. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? So we've got a wonderful relationship with those on campus, and they know that they can direct students to us at any point in time throughout an academic year, even in the summertime. And usually in those conversations, the student is copied in on those emails. So we're able to reach right out to the student right away. Um, and we encourage even students who are, viewing this as they consider, schools, different schools and different programs, they're welcome to reach out to us now with questions. There are two advisors, myself and Dr. Shingles, and it's based on last name. So if your last name starts with the letter A all the way through L, you're with Dr. Shingles. If your last name is an M all the way through Z, then you're with me. So it's really easy to direct students that way, knowing that it's just based on last name. But the other part of it is if that student maybe can't meet with Dr. Shingles because of a calendar conflict, they can meet with me, and then I just direct them back to Dr. Shingles and I talk to her. And the same thing happens if they can't reach me or they accidentally reach out to Dr. Shingles, she helps them, and then we redirect. We work together. But we encourage students specifically when they're on campus in the fall, reach out in the fall and get connected. With us, I think as a program, we're very active individuals. We're around, students see us anyway, that if they are unsure where to go and they are in the intro class with Mrs. Van Dyke, she knows that she can direct them to us too. So I think that's one of the the unique qualities of our program is just we're an outgoing group, and we are definitely here for students and want to help them. And I think our mantra is our door is always open, anytime, just reach out.
I would echo that.
That's great. Is there any summary statement, Dr. Shingles or Mrs. Webster, you'd like to add?
Mrs. Webster, go ahead and then I'll follow after you.
I would say, gosh, there's too much to say probably. Um, if you have questions, reach out. Don't hesitate. It's never a bother. No question is a silly question. Because if you're thinking it, chances are there are other people that are thinking that same question. Um, this is a special place, and I know it's a special place for all of us that are here today. This is my one and only job. Um, my first job out of graduate school, and I've been here ever since. So, I take a lot of pride in our program. I've been a part of a lot of changes throughout the years. I'm starting my 20th year here, and I just love it. I think our program produces wonderful, well-qualified athletic trainers. Our students are sought after. Um, more of the trouble is they have a couple of job offers and they have to make a decision on where to go, not just having a job offer. So our students are sought after because of the quality of their education and their preparedness when they enter the workforce. And I think that's attributed to that immersive. They don't skip a beat, and it's a reputation that has been around for a long time. So if you're interested in athletic training, CMU is the place to be.
And I would echo that. You know, I'm starting my 29th year, um, and we have a faculty who's dedicated to the education, you know, of our students, to increasing the knowledge in the profession through research, and we we have great opportunities at Central Michigan University. Our alum seek out CMU alum. If they see Central Michigan University, you know, on a resume, they're calling us to say, tell us about this student. We want this student. We want to know more about this, you know, this student. I've had several of those this summer where students have applied for opportunities and they said, Central Michigan, let me call and learn about that. I know that that's a quality student and they automatically go to the top of my list. And Central alum hire Central alum, and we have alum all over the place. And so that's a unique opportunity that you get to tap into, is that alumni network for the university. And we say fire up chips, and we mean fire up chips. I have been in foreign countries wearing something that had Central Michigan on it, and here across the room or across the beach, someone say fire up chips, and so we're everywhere, and we look out for each other, and we help each other, and we support one another. And that's what we do not only at the university, but we do that in our program. So welcome to Central Michigan. Welcome to the athletic training program. We look forward to having you.
Well, thank you to you both. Okay, that concludes our session of the athletic training program. We again want to thank you for your interest in CMU and the Herbert H. and Grace A. Dow College of Health Professions. Don't forget to post your questions to our Health Professions Facebook page. We'll be sure to answer those. We look forward to seeing you soon. In the meanwhile, thanks again. Stay safe, be well, and fire up chips.
Fire up chips.